what are the key differences between a millionaire mindset and a billionaire mindset?
How you spend your time and how you treat your people.
Do you find there's less of a flash factor between the millionaires and the billionaires?
Yeah, I think like if you have it, you don't need to talk about it. I noticed in the US lately, like everyone likes to talk about how much money they make, and
Well, everyone that doesn't have it does it.
Exactly. Your relationships are so important. Like your network is not there to serve you. You have to serve your network. I think a lot of people want to wait till they feel confident before they take action. And I talk a lot about this, that by taking the action, you'll get the confidence. If you wait until you're confident, you're never going to start.
Maha, appreciate you traveling down here for us today.
I'm so excited to be here.
Fun to learn about everything you do at Digital Savvy.
Yes, I'm excited to tell you all the things.
What led you down this path?
I always loved communications. When I was a little girl, I was always obsessed with like watching the news, how they tell stories, seeing people go live from different places. And when I was in university, I was in college, I interned at a news station. And the feeling of a piece of news coming into the news wire, us thinking about how to package it and tell it to the world and kind of figure out how to broadcast it really excited me. And I've been doing communications now for 30 years. I ran communications at Google and at Netflix, and I worked for the ruler of Dubai. And now I have my own communications firm, and I help people tell their stories, but really focus on, I did a lot in my career in companies and governments, and now we're really working with people and helping people tell their stories and have people leverage their expertise and working with personal brand CEOs, high-profile people.
So let's kind of rewind back. Let's start with your history. Tell us all about you. Go from day zero till today.
Yeah, so I'm 100% Egyptian. I'm born and raised in Minnesota. My parents were Egyptian, moved to the U.S. to study, ended up spending about 30-some years in the U.S., and I went to school and graduated in Minnesota. Yeah, in Minnesota. And studied,
not here, LA.
Not in LA, but yeah,
Minnesota.
I started marketing international business and ended up, getting my master's degree and working at General Mills doing sports marketing.
Still in Minnesota? You got your master's there?
I'm still in Minnesota, yep, in Mankato State. And when I was 27 years old, my parents said, we're moving back to Egypt. We came, we had you and your sister.
What part of Egypt?
Cairo.
Okay.
We're going to move back to Egypt. And my mother had multiple sclerosis. She had MS since I was 14, and I was her caretaker. And so when my parents came to leave, there was like a no-brainer. I was going to go with them to help take care of my mother. My sister was older than me, married, settled, so she was working and living in Twin Cities, so she stayed. So I moved to Egypt.
Just two girls?
Yes, two girls. Yeah, okay. Me and an older sister. I moved to Egypt at 27. And it's like you guys moving to Egypt.
Did you speak Arabic?
I don't speak Arabic.
Oh, boy.
I don't have any friends. I don't speak any Arabic. I don't have any friends. I don't have a network. I'm going there to caretake for my mother. Yet I'm at an age at 27 where I was working. I had a life. I was living in my own apartment.
What year is this?
1997.
97. So
no internet.
And before September 11th.
Yeah, September 11th. Okay. Good context. So I'm living in Egypt, and I'm like, I need to find a job, and I want to work for an American company in Egypt because that's what I would feel comfortable doing. Pepsi, Coca-Cola, P&G, Unilever, like a multinational. And I wanted to get one of those brand marketing jobs. Those were the it jobs at the time. Couldn't find a job in Egypt that I could get, and I got offered to be the secretary for a billionaire. And I went home that day, and I'm like, I can't believe that's the only job I can find. Egyptian billionaire, very well known. Actually,
I know a lot of Saudis live in Egypt as well.
No, he was Egyptian, and actually just was on the Forbes list, like one of the top billionaires in the world. But anyways, and I was like, I don't want to take that job. I'm not a secretary. I didn't go to grad school and have all this work experience. I've been working for several years now to take this admin role. And my dad gave me some advice that at the time I didn't, foresee his insight and his thoughts of how that should go. And he's like, you should take this job. You are just new to Egypt. You don't know anybody. He's one of the most powerful people in the Middle East. If you want to learn, you just got handed the biggest gift in the world to take this job as this guy's secretary.
How did you run into this billionaire?
At the time, my dad was the dean of the business school in the U.S. And when he moved to the Middle East, he was consulting for family businesses. And they had a family business with these three powerful brothers and the father that ran this business. And he had known the family. And so I had interviewed with several of the brothers. One was a consumer company, one was a construction company, and then he had a tech company. And at the time, he offered me this job to be his assistant. And I was like, I don't really feel like I should take this job. I'm overqualified. I was like, felt full of myself. Like, this is beneath me to take this job. But my dad convinced me to do it. And the next day I accepted the job. And it was the best thing that happened to me. It was a game changing. It changed my life forever. I took this job, sat outside his office, learned how to network, learned how to deal with people, learned how to, as a billionaire, run a multi-million-dollar company.
What are some networking tips that you picked up?
First of all, I sat outside his office, and I knew that if people wanted to get through him, they had to go through me. So I was like, I want to be a pleasure to work with. I want to learn how to build relationships in a culture and a business environment that I had no business doing, because I didn't know anything about how a billionaire's front office ran. Like, I had no experience doing that. So I think networking for me was a big thing. Like, how do I bring value to him? How can I say people, oh, we love working with Maha. She's a pleasure. She was very helpful, going out of my way to like stand up and stand out for people so that people would notice me and that I could learn how to build my own relationships in a country where I had none. And then I really focused on him. How can I add value to his business? So I studied every piece of paper going in and out of his office. I was trying to figure out, what does he do? How can I bring value? I won't know how to bring value to him unless I learned his business. So I just put my head down and I was like, I'm just going to study. And I did. And then, it was me nagging a bit, like, can I attend this meeting? Can I volunteer for this? Can I step up? Because now I started to learn the business. So then I knew where I could be a secret sauce for him.
What value did you see that the billionaire needed that you could provide?
Well, he was applying for mobile licenses, so cell phones were about to go big all over North Africa, all of Africa and the Middle East. Like, he would have to apply for a license from a telecom ministry. And I knew how to write, and I knew marketing. And when you apply for a tender for a license, there's a technical, financial, and a marketing offer that you have to put together. So I volunteered to help write the marketing plan, the commercial plan, and I had no idea how to do that because this is pre-internet. There's nothing I can look up.
No ChatGPT.
No ChatGPT. And so I just was like willing to put in the effort. I was willing to put in the hard work. I was willing to come first person to the office and leave the last. I was just willing to work hard. And that was the difference. Like, I was willing to put in the effort. I was willing to say yes to everything because I was willing to learn. He also was putting me on the deep end of the pool to see if I would, like, he was just loading me and giving me stuff. And I kept a pace. And I didn't know I was capable of any of that stuff. I worked on the largest IPO in the history of Egypt, the largest acquisition in the history of Egypt. He sent me to Paris to learn from his law firm how to write a prospectus for an IPO, which I had no business learning how to do, but I did. And that became the starting point of my career, of me learning how to do things outside my comfort zone, me learning how to bring value to people, me learning how to network and build a business. I started as his secretary, ended as his business partner. After 4 years of me delivering what he wanted, I finally was able to go to him and say, listen, like, I want to start a communications company. I want to do communications and PR. That's what I did in the US. Could you help me do that? And so he's like, well, let's do it together. And so we brought Weber Shandwick, which is a global PR firm, into Egypt and the Middle East. I became the regional managing director. We opened 18 offices, and it was right when September 11th happened. So crisis loves communication. So the company made a lot of money during that time because we were investing in telling people how to manage during a reputation or a boycott and all this kind of stuff. Then I went on to run communications at Google, based out of Dubai.
What year is this now?
This is now 2010.
In 2010, you're doing Google in Dubai?
Yeah, I was a full-time employee, head of communications and public policy for Google. Then I left Google, went back to my company because I had started my own firm, and ran communications and launched Netflix in the Middle East.
Where are you launching Netflix now?
In Dubai.
Okay.
So this is all, I was living overseas. So I lived in Egypt for 15 years and then Dubai for 9. And then ended up.
So what years were you in Dubai?
I was in Dubai from 2013 till 2020. And I moved back during the pandemic to Minnesota in 2020. And, when I moved to Egypt when I was 27, I had to kind of start all over my life, build relationships, build a network. I spent 23 years overseas. And then when the pandemic hit in 2020, I was living in Dubai. I moved from Egypt to Dubai. And I'm like, well, am I going to just stay here forever? And then I thought I might go back to the States for lockdown. So I moved home to Minnesota I thought it was going to be like 6 months till this lockdown thing happened. It took 2 years. So in 2020, I moved back to the U.S., after being gone for 23 years, had to build my relationships and my network, rebuilt my business. And I've been back now for 5 years. I have a strategic communications firm. I have 8 team members in my company, and we help tell stories for high-profile people and companies.
Got it. So as far as your networking, it seemed like that was the first thing that you learned really quick.
Yes.
Networking tips. What networking tips would you share with us today that you've learned over the years?
Yeah, so I just wrote a book. It's called The 7 Rules of Self-Reliance, and I give a playbook in that book about networking. But like the first thing is to think about your relationships are so important. Like your network is not there to serve you. You have to serve your network. And a lot of people think that the network is there for when they need favors or they need stuff. And I want you to think about it very differently. And I think of it as being a long-term player. Like, how can you put deposits in other people's trust banks? And so I want you to think about networking as a lifelong game. Like, you need to be putting deposits in other people's trust banks. And that means bring them value, be a super connector, introduce them to other people, help them when they need it, show up for them. Like if you can even spend 15 minutes a day online through LinkedIn or your Instagram or whatever social media accounts, sharing their work, commenting on their posts, that's showing up for somebody, right? Supporting them is a big part of networking, for me at least. And it's been the success that I've had in my career is I can get into the best rooms and talk to the biggest names because I know how to network. It's not about asking for favors. It's about serving them first.
So one thing that, the advice is great once you have your network.
How do you acquire
the network? Because they think in order to be successful in anything,
100%.
you have to have a well-diversified network. Someone just graduating college, zero network. How do they start to build their network?
Easy. In university, you are meeting students and you're meeting professors, you're meeting people. How are you cultivating that relationship? Because you don't know where they'll be 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road. Make an effort to get to know the people that you're sitting next to in class, because you never know where they're going to be or who their families are or what businesses they might be. So I always think about relationship building, about listening first. I have to listen to, what do you care about? What are some of the things you've told me in your story that might be interesting that I might be able to, like, okay, there's a string I can pull. I might be able to make an introduction for them without you asking. With being a value add, like adding value to people is about anticipating needs. Can I solve a problem? Can I unlock an opportunity? Can I connect them to something because I think strategically, I know that might be valuable for him and for her. Let me do that. And I think that's what you should do at a very young age. It's like compound investing, doing it over time. Same thing with building a relationships and a network. At university, you have relationships, your first job. How do you network with people you see on Zoom? This is an easy tip for people to do. Like you're on a Teams meeting and there's people in your company that you're on a call with that you don't interact with every day. Try to text them and say, I'd love to learn more about what you do and how I might be able to learn about your role or your path in the company or get your advice. And when you ask for somebody's time, be specific. So you're not asking for a lot of time because everybody's busy. Like, can I get 5 minutes to talk to you about this? Or do you mind spending 10 minutes with me, once a quarter so we can talk about this idea that I have or whatever it would be. So be specific in your asks.
So Maha, that's great advice for, I guess, early, for
yep,
this
yep.
end of the spectrum. And as you know, as you get older and you get to, in like 40s and 50s,
yep.
and as you become more successful, your friends get less and your network shrinks a little bit.
Because of course. You've settled.
You've outgrown
Yep.
your initial network and you moved on to another network. And as your net worth grows, your friends kind of go by the wayside. So when you're in your 40s and 50s and more mature in your career, how do those guys or those gals get a bigger network or grow a network? Because your network can take you so far, and then as you evolve as a person,
yep.
you need another set of network to kind of grow with you if
Yeah.
the ones don't grow. So how do the ones later in life find their network? Because as you get older, you might be self-employed, so you don't have coworkers, you're not in college anymore,
Yep.
you're not going to events. How do you grow that network?
Yeah, so I'm 55. And I moved back to the U.S. when I was 50. So I'm like, oh, I got to start over. I don't know anybody. Where am I going to get these relationships
How do you
from?
find friends? How do you find coworkers, colleagues?
Like I lived this exact situation. And I was like, I started with a couple of things. One is I tried to put myself in rooms. So how do I go to events where I want to meet like-minded people? Because I need to cultivate new relationships that don't exist. I don't even have any clients in the U.S. How am I going to build those.
And then we'll
right?
talk about the confidence of being in that room by yourself.
Yeah, so we're doing that. But just I think that's key, is knowing how to put yourself in a place where you can create opportunities to meet people. So, can you go to events where you can build new relationships or
How did you find
people?
events?
I mean, I do it a couple things. I look at my industry and I look outside my industry, because I can't meet new people if I'm just talking to the same people. If I go to the same events that everyone else goes to, I want to talk to new circles. Like, especially when I wrote this book, a lot of people are entrepreneurs, read it, but I'm like, I need to talk to other professionals that I probably wouldn't talk to through my consulting business, like real estate advisors or financial advisors or people who are in the insurance industry who rely on referrals for their business. So they need to be good at communications and networking to build those relationships so the opportunities can come to them.
So how do you find those CEOs and those A players in your field?
So one, I attend events. So I looked at I need to attend specific events that lend itself for me to meet people, like sporting events like the Super Bowl, the NBA All-Star Game, because CEOs, brands, media all congregate around those events.
So you're all for getting the better seats, so you're around the right circle.
Yeah, I pay to be in rooms,
so you
because I feel it's very valuable for your investment in your brand and your relationships to be in the right place to meet the right people. So that's the first thing, is events. The second thing is I have a strong presence on social media through LinkedIn or my accounts, so people know who I am and what I do. It's now your digital resume where people are going to look you up. I'm not saying everyone who's listening to this needs to be a social media influencer, but you need to have a strong presence. So when people do look you up or want to see what you're up to, it's stuff that you put there intentionally.
It's your version of you.
It's your version of you that you want the world to see, and be intentional about it, because it's your reputation. So first thing, events. Second thing is making sure you have a solid social media presence. Even if you don't want to post, but you want to make sure that the information they find is what you want them to see.
Updated and accurate.
Exactly. So that's the second thing, is social media. The third thing is, whatever your business is, make sure that you are good at it in delivering results, because that word of mouth will bring you relationships, referrals. People will want to connect you to them. So your track record is the biggest way that you will meet people, because people will see your work. You don't have to promote yourself. If you do a good job and you have a good track record, people will know it, and people will say, oh, who did that? And then they'll go say, well, so-and-so did it, and you'll get those referrals or recommendations or introductions from other people. I think those are the biggest ones I always think about, is like, what events are you doing? How are you good at social media? And how are you actually delivering against where you create the most value for other people?
And then going back to the beginning of getting the confidence to be in those rooms, to do the work. Because it really, if you don't have the confidence and you're in a room and you're just quiet by yourself, attending the event doesn't really make you successful. You got to actually put in the work once you're there. How do you build that confidence to just go to the group of 3 people there and introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people want to wait till they feel confident before they take action. And I talk a lot about this, that by taking the action, you'll get the confidence. So you need to just put in the reps. You're never going to have the confidence.
Shoot first, aim later.
Yeah, I think you're never going to have the confidence if you're like, I'm not good enough to be in that room, or I can't go talk to people. You know what? You're going to get the confidence once you take action. If you wait until you're confident, you're never going to start. Nobody goes in from 0 to 100. Like, you have to go in, figure out, how do I introduce myself? What is it I want people to know about me? So have a couple of ideas in your pocket, and if you might get anxious. So have a couple of thought starters. When people ask me, what do I do? What do I want them to know? Do I want them to know I'm Egyptian? Do I want them to know I do communications? Do I want them to know I do training? Do I want them to know I'm an author? I think about it. I just don't try to just, wing it so that I can be focused, because they might have limited attention or limited time to talk to me. So I want to make sure I know what that elevator pitch, or what is the most important thing I think people should know about me. Another thing I do whenever I network and I meet people at events is, let's say you and I meet and we have a conversation. I really try to ask you questions so I can get some information from you. So I'm really carefully listening to what you're telling me. So there might be something that you share with me that I can refer to later, or something I can think about how I can help you based on that. But I might say, come on, Makan, let's take a photo together, and we'll take a selfie. And then when we exchange numbers, I'll text you that photo. So now you have my name in your phone and my photo, so you can recall, because you might be at that event meeting so many people. Then afterwards, I can text you saying, it was really great to meet you. And then you're like, oh, I know exactly who she is, because she put her picture in my phone.
And then how often do you follow up after that?
Oh, it's everything about networking is about the follow up and the follow through.
Correct.
Right? So you meet somebody, follow up. So remember I told you I was listening intently about what you're talking about? I might message you an article that had to do with that topic, or check in to see, did you get the dog? What happened with the dog? Like if that's a story you told me, like I make sure that I follow up whatever they're
Genuinely, obviously.
Yeah, genuinely just making sure that you're staying in touch with them. And then don't reach out to a network. And I just did a video about this last week because it gets super annoying. We're like, we'll meet. And I'll put you two on text together. I'm like, I think you two should know each other. Like, don't do that. Like, first of all, I should find out, what do you care about? Is that interesting for you? Are you okay if I connect you to B? Same for you. Are you okay if I connect you? Here's the reason why I want to connect you. Tell them why. Don't just connect them and hope for the best, because then you're the person who
There's
just
no
does
value.
that. Yeah, there's no value.
It's
in
negative
it.
value
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
Liability, actually. So you...
I'm just giggling because I asked to intro him to people. He's like, no.
What?
When I asked you, should I intro you? You're like, no.
No, because like you know if you
Yeah, I
have
don't like
time,
intros.
because sometimes you just don't want the time, or you don't have the time and you don't be able to follow through. So don't put me on a text message about something that I might not be able to see through. I think that's actually valuable, that he probably saved you and that other person time and embarrassment of like, oh, he didn't really want to connect with me.
Based on your experience over the years, what are the key differences between a millionaire mindset and a billionaire mindset?
How you spend your time and how you treat your people.
So how does a millionaire treat their time and treat people, and how does a billionaire do it?
I just think it's the degree to which they spend time focusing on the people. The long-term game of focusing on your people and your culture is everything. It's the difference between a successful business or one where people feel burnt out and unappreciated and not contributing to the bigger goal. And I think that's it. And then the other thing on your time is, how do you spend your time? Do you look at your calendar, how much time are you spending with your team versus your customers versus your clients, and really kind of focusing on hacking your calendar to be the most efficient and effective way that you need to be as a leader, and then give the rest of the power to your team and let them run with it.
But have you noticed a big difference between billionaire mindset and millionaire mindset?
Yeah, I mean, I work a lot in the Middle East, and I work a lot in Dubai and in Saudi and in Egypt, and I do deal with a lot of billionaires overseas. I don't deal with that many billionaires in the U.S.
It's a big difference between
I deal
billionaires
with-
overseas
I
versus
deal with a lot
billionaires
of
here.
millionaires in the U.S., but billionaires overseas, and I just feel like it's that culture, it's that sense of the people, it's that sense of your legacy and helping people and giving them the time, investing. I think billionaires just really...
But that is also a very Middle East culture.
It is.
So it doesn't really translate to the billionaires
Yeah,
here in
that's
the
true.
States.
That's true.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't help you.
Okay.
Okay.
So the millionaires you've seen, obviously in the Middle East then, the millionaires in the Middle East versus the billionaires in the Middle East, would you say it's the same thing, but just at
To a different degree.
To a higher degree?
Yeah, a higher degree, yeah, because your scale is different, and the families and lives and people you're impacting is much different.
Do you find there's less of a flash factor between the millionaires and the billionaires?
Yeah, I think like if you have it, you don't need to talk about it. I was just talking to someone today about that. Like I noticed in the U.S. lately, like everyone likes to talk about how much money they make, and they
Well,
like
everyone
to,
that doesn't have it does it.
Yeah, and I don't
Yeah.
get exactly. That's exactly what I said. I'm like, first of all, I'm very uncomfortable with seeing that people being open about it. I'm like, if you're talking about it, means you don't have it, and so you want people to think that you do. Did you notice this? Have you noticed it?
Well,
It's
usually
good-
people
it's-
that have wealth are living in fear because they don't want to get sued or robbed. So they're always quiet about it. So they're very like, they
He's
do
not
the
wrong,
exact
though.
opposite.
You're right.
No, you do the
Truth
exact
hurts.
opposite
Yeah.
because you either get women, for men, you either get women coming towards you to like, I don't know, get pregnant to win the lottery, or lawsuits or theft, or you have to think
It's
like
true.
that. That's
Yeah.
really why
Yeah.
it is. And it's a lot of, because we've interviewed a lot of CIA, ex-military, Navy SEALs, and they do a lot of private contract security for a lot of high net worth individuals.
Yeah.
And the number one thing is being covert. It's not about like the protection. The protection is being not detected to begin with.
Yeah.
So a
true.
lot of really, really wealthy people just do everything they can to downplay it. And then
Yeah,
a
just
lot
stay
of
under the sun.
Yeah.
Under the radar.
And then
I agree.
The other end of the spectrum is you could tell right away when someone walks in that has like no money. You're just like, okay,
Gucci
you're
belt?
just loud. Yeah, I mean, it's just very loud. You could tell like
Yeah.
it's not.
They're flashy.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
No, not
I think
the
it's
big-
inauthentic and it's not necessary. Like, who are you trying to impress?
Yeah.
I'm not impressed by that. Like when someone says, "Oh, I live in a X million," I'm like, Why is that relevant?
Well, I'm sure even with Dubai, you know, a lot of people that
Dubai is very flashy, but
very flashy.
But they also have money for.
Some do. Like
Yeah.
Abu Dhabi has money. Dubai doesn't have any money. Most of the people in
Dubai has money.
very compared to Abu Dhabi.
No, not compared to Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi is like
Yeah.
wealth. That means they
Yeah.
built out Burj Khalifa.
That's why they call it the capital of capital, Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Abu Dhabi is, you know,
A lot of the guys
but
I met when I was in Dubai, though, they said all this stuff, and
then they
look
pull up in
behind
a
the
car,
skirt, and you're
their
like,
car
oh.
has, you know, 5 digits on their place. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
I went to school in Abu Dhabi, so I love it there.
Yeah, I have family in Dubai, so
Yeah.
I'm always there as well. I mean, I love Dubai, but I tell him all the time, I'm like, you know, don't get mesmerized by all the glitz
Yeah,
and
a
glamour,
lot of
because a lot of
people
people
go-
do,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like
yeah.
there's there's
agree.
really, really wealthy people, and then there's a lot of people that like to pretend like they're wealthy over there. But that's, you know, just
Yeah,
Dubai life.
Flashy.
after about 5 days of Dubai, I'm ready
You're
to go
done.
home.
Yeah.
It's like Vegas.
Yeah.
The flight is what's bad. It's
That's
that
why you want to
15-hour flight from LA to Dubai, 16
Yeah.
That
hours
flight
sometimes.
The direct
Sucks.
flight. But you're Emirates, you're fine.
It's still painful.
It still hurts.
I've flown from.
I love that flight. I've been on the one from LA, direct.
Yeah, the
Well,
A380.
Yeah, I love that flight.
I did
I did it way too much.
I do
Way
the
too
Saudi
much.
one. A lot of times I'll go to like Jeddah, and then from Jeddah that flight's like 17 and a half hours, almost 18 hours. It is so painful.
Yeah, that one is painful.
So painful. All right, so what you're in LA now? Are you doing a book tour for your?
Yeah, my book came out several months ago. I am just here today and tomorrow. I have clients. I have 2 clients that are here, so I'm going to see them tomorrow. But I just came to talk a little bit
What
about the
type
book.
of clients are you working with right now with your company?
So I work with people. So I work
Individuals
with
and companies?
individuals and companies. So like Gary Vee is a big client. We've been working with him for almost 10 years.
What are you guys doing with Gary Vee?
Just like helping on any of he has a lot of announcements and projects that he does.
So are you guys doing
podcasts.
PR or
Yeah,
more?
we do communications, human communications, and then working with, we work with individuals, so CEOs, entrepreneurs, on building their personal brands, and then we work on any strategic clients, strategic communications, helping find their positioning and find their narrative. If they have a project that they want to announce or initiative within the company, internally or externally, we help with that.
What's an example of working with a CEO on their brand? Like, what do most CEOs come to you and say, hey, like, what are they asking you to do? And what
Yeah,
do you
so
do?
right now I can just give you one quick example. There is a company that we're working with that's out of Dubai. We're working with the CEO of this company. She works in AI. She's built a big company, and she's transitioning the company into a different name, and now they're going to be doing a lot of AI stuff. So we do all the strategic communications, the messaging, the narrative, how to do the launch, how to handle just the platform and positioning of an LLM in Arabic. How does that work? It's called Arabic.ai. So we work on her LinkedIn strategy, what the company's communication strategy, what's the messaging, how to tell the stories to the market, how to tell it to your customers, all the different stakeholders.
The interesting thing is, most people might not know this, but Dubai actually has a pretty big tech scene. There's
Huge.
It's actually very, very interesting.
Yeah.
A lot of Dubai and London, they've got a huge tech scene.
Massive.
Growing, and like most people don't know that.
Really?
Yeah.
All the
Yeah.
time I've spent there, I did not know that.
It's big.
And crypto,
It's-
and
yeah,
big on
their
crypto.
crypto is huge. I
Huge.
know a few people that launched
Yeah.
some cryptos in Dubai.
Yep.
And it's going really well. Like,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. And actually, one of the things that my company does is if there anybody here in the U.S., just because I lived there for so long, is interested in figuring out how to do business over there.
Oh, you know all the key
I
players.
would do like executive visits, organize like some press visits, some meetings with some business people, organize a lunch or dinner. Like if they need to build relationships, we help them understand how to land properly in
It's
the market.
very
how to-
important.
and how to educate them on the culture and the nuances of doing business in the Middle East. So that's something that my company does. And then we do a lot of training and education on how to build your personal brand, how to tell stories, how to effectively communicate on a podcast, how to show up in the world. Doing communications is not a must, is not a nice to do. Like everyone needs to know how to be good at it.
Yeah.
It's everything. Like being online is one thing and doing it through social media, but just face to face and understanding how to be good at modern communications, how to tell stories, how to connect with audiences, how to build communities. It's essential from a CEO to an entry-level employee. So
And you also touched a very good point where you said that you have a good liaison between you and the right people in Dubai. And going back to what I was saying, there's a lot of real deal serious people in Dubai, and there's a lot of fakes. So you really need to
Yeah,
make sure you
to
have the
know-
right contact
Yeah,
so that
for
they
sure.
know the right players, because Everyone goes to Dubai, and a lot of scammers go to Dubai and say, oh, come invest with me, come invest with me. But if they know someone that knows the right players,
the market,
it's always smarter going with a contact than just
People.
going over there and just shooting, in the dark and hoping.
It might work, might not.
May work, may not work, exactly. So I'm glad you brought that up because that's a very important.
I think if people are curious about the region, it's one of the few regions in the world that's booming. We're closed off from the world from China. Europe is declining. What's the region that's growing the most, that has the most tech savvy, business savvy, fast forward city in the world, and the region in the world that has economic growth that it's doubling every year? That's the Middle East region, yeah.
And also with Saudi, right now Saudi is doing a lot of investments over there, and they're trying to grow out of their oil economy into a more tourist.
Sports, entertainment, tourism. It's exciting to see.
Are you guys doing anything in Saudi?
We do have a client in Saudi that we're working with on the food side of the business, hospitality.
That's booming too. A lot of restaurants from
big ones.
They're all moving to Saudi. They're all opening up locations.
I'm actually having dinner tonight at John and Vinny's, and they just opened.
They have,
in Jeddah.
yes,
yeah, they
exactly.
just opened. So, but I know the partner who is the Saudi partner, who's our client, is the one that's working with the partner here in California. So I'm excited. I haven't been there before, so I'm going to try it tonight.
A lot of good restaurants here. Even Medeo. I know I talked to the owners, and they're opening up. Well, they actually did open up. And one of the challenges they face, like a lot of Italian restaurants, the challenges they face going into the Middle East is they can't cook with wine.
Yes.
Because it's a dry country.
Yeah.
And so they're like, we have to reformulate our entrees, and it's just not working.
But doesn't it burn off?
But again, you don't know. Some people are like, I don't want any of it in my food. Some of it want it in their food. Yeah, but it's just interesting when you're dealing with international.
They just need to fix the traffic.
Yeah, the traffic in Saudi is bad.
Yeah,
no,
it wasn't ready
Dubai
for
is bad
it. Was
too,
not
yeah.
ready for.
Yeah.
It was not ready for.
Even Saudi's been
growth.
growing the traffic.
It beats LA.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's only certain hours though.
Yeah, anytime after 12 p.m.
But Dubai is a lot of fun place. It's fun when I go there, and it's hot in the summers. Most people don't know how hot it gets in the summertime.
It's like 140 degrees.
It's like an oven.
With like
that was
humidity.
his analogy. The first time I'm going, it was like summer. He's like, when you open the oven and it just smacks you in the face.
At 500 degrees, it just hits you in
But
the
it's
face.
the humidity what kills you. It's like 100% humidity.
Yeah.
What killed me was the Uber drivers that don't wear deodorant.
Let's not go there.
That's what killed me.
That's because you're using Uber X, my friend. If you use the Uber
Get the black
blacks,
cars. Get a
you'll
black
be fine.
lane.
You'll be
if you
fine.
get a black lane, you'll be fine.
Okay.
Maha, I wanted to know. So your book, it just got released. Can you
Yes.
tell us a little bit more about your book?
Okay.
What is what is it about? What made you want to write a book?
Yes. So thank you for asking.
What was the inspiration?
Yeah.
behind that?
So I read a lot of books, and I love reading
What
books.
are your top 3 favorite books, by the way?
Oh, there's so many. I just did a post on this yesterday on my social. I love Essentialism by Greg McKeown.
Why?
It's because what's essential in life? Look at how are you spending your time? Because we spend it doing a lot of filler things that don't fill our cups and that don't bring results and that don't just waste time. And I think Essentialism is one of my favorite books. I love Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. Shoe Dog. That's a good book about.
Nike.
Nike, and I like the Andre Agassi book as well. And then I like a lot of different business books. I mean, I could.
One of my favorite ones is Good to Great with Jim
I
Collins.
love that. That's really good. That's
Yeah.
a really good book. What about yours?
Who Moved My Cheese?
That wasn't
That's
a
a good book. That's a great book. That's like
It is
a
good book.
classic.
It's a very easy book to read.
It's small.
And it's right to the
easy.
point.
I like the short ones. The Power of Now was kind of long.
Power of Now is kind of long. Those are all good books.
But then to your
Anyways,
book.
the reason I wanted to write a book is I love reading books.
Is this
and
your first book?
It's my first book. It's a bestseller.
Must be exciting.
Yeah, I was so excited to write it and to put it out in the world.
How long did it take you to write it?
It took me like 7 or 8 months just to think
Did a
about
lot
how
of
the
research?
structure of how I was going to do the book. And then it took me like 2 months to write it. I just banged it out because I was like, I really want to get the story out. And the book isn't about what I do as a communications executive. It's about how I did it. And there's 7 rules that I think people need to learn in order to rely on themselves first before working with anybody else. So the first rule of the book is stay low, keep moving. Like, how do you stay focused on what you care about? Because there's all these distractions, comparison to social media, thinking about everyone's obligations and not thinking about the things that you want to spend time on. So you got to really make an effort to put the blinders on to stay low and keep moving, despite setbacks or things that are happening in your world, the economic downturns, et cetera. The second rule in the book is be a value creator. What does it mean to create value for somebody else? It's actually how I became good at my job when I worked with Naguib, the billionaire, is I thought, well, how can I bring value to him? What can I bring to his table that he can't get from anybody else? So it's like seeing around corners, thinking strategically. If you can create value for other people will keep you in close to them and with them. So is it anticipating needs or solving a problem? The third rule is don't be a waiter. So many times in life, we are waiting. We are waiting for permission from others. We're waiting because we don't want to fail. We're waiting because we fear judgment. We're waiting until we lose 10 pounds. We're waiting until we get more money in the bank account.
We call it analysis paralysis.
Yeah, you're just waiting. You're like, what are you waiting for? Like, life is so short. Just take the step. And if you don't have the skills and experience, you want to do the things you want to see in your life, what do you need to do reverse engineer to get those things done for you? Rule number 4 is about unlearning and relearning and investing in yourself. No one's going to put you at the top of your priority list like you. So what are you doing to invest in yourself? Do you have 15 minutes a week to listen to a podcast, to learn a new skill, to take a course, to go for a walk with someone who can teach you something? Like, how are you investing in yourself? Everything on the internet is for free. YouTube videos are for free. Podcasts are for free. Sitting with you and having a cup of coffee. I mean, obviously your time is valuable, but it's free.
I was gonna
but
say
you know what I
it's
mean?
very
Like, you
expensive.
can learn from people. You don't need to go to a course. Like, you can just
No.
ask somebody, can you teach me about this? And can I learn from you? So that's rule number 4. Rule number 5 is build your personal brand. Treat your reputation like a currency. Rule number 6 is to be a long-term player. And this is the playbook on how to network and how I do it and how I get into the rooms and how you can too. And what do you do if you're an introvert? And then rule number 7, which is the final rule, is to live with no regrets. Like, how can you live your life without saying I woulda, shoulda, coulda? It's easy to say, very difficult to do, but I feel like it don't let anything that struggles that happen to you define you. So when I was 14, my mother had multiple sclerosis. I was a caretaker for my mother for 22 years. Then my father got ALS and got Lou Gehrig's disease. And I was living in Egypt, foreign country for me, with 2 very sick and disabled parents. And I thought, this is it. I'm just going to become a caretaker. I'm just going to be a great daughter. And that's, in and of itself, is a great thing to be. But I also wanted to do more. I knew I had other skills, and I wanted to challenge to find myself and to bring value to the world. And I love storytelling. I love communications. And I'm like, this is what I'm here to do, is to help people communicate better. So that's the last rule of the book.
So I talk about storytelling as one of the most important things. I have a business background and commercial real estate and private equity. And I tell a lot of my clients that storytelling is like one of the most important things in business.
Huge.
What is a technique you use for storytelling?
I think about the audience first. I think so many people, when they're telling a story, think about what they want to say, but they don't think about who's on the receiving end and what do they need to know and why should they care. The most effective stories that are being told are the ones that put the audience first. How can you make it relatable to them? How do you make it relevant for them? Why should they care? Your job is to tell a story in a way that makes them pay attention.
This also translates into social media as well. When you're creating content for your audience,
Yes.
how would you apply this to that and coming up with better content?
I mean, first of all, the platforms give us tremendous amount of analytics and insight. So are you actually clicking on that button that says show insights to learn? Is your audience male or female? Or is your audience in this demographic or not? So like, you actually have to look at those insights, and they're available on every single platform for free. So that's, I think, the first step, is making sure that you're resonating with your audience by looking at who they are. The other thing, which is a very simple and easy thing to do on social, if you don't know what your audience cares about or wants to be learning from you or is interested in, it's really simple. Ask them. Do a post. Should I talk about leadership tips or communications tips? Should I talk about the process of writing a book, or what's it like to run a company? Like, I ask them, like, what kind of stuff do you guys want to learn? And then I do that because I asked what they care about. And I think, 1, it tells your audience that you care to what they think. 2, you'll get insights. And 3, your content will be better because you're focusing on things that they actually care about.
Of the 7 rules that you mentioned from your book,
Yeah.
how many of those do you follow?
All of them.
And to what percentage?
It's a lived experience. It's how I live my life daily. It's not practical tips and advice based on theories. It's what I actually lived. Like, I am a long-term player. I worked for Gary Vee for 1.5 years before I got a contract from him. I was willing to spend time with him.
How did you build that relationship? Let's talk about that, because that'll talk a lot more into insight of what it takes.
Yeah, I was willing to
land
spend time and be around him and bring value. And like, being a long-term player means not just walking up to someone and asking for something you need. I had to spend time getting to know him, understand his business. What does he care about? What's his style? I had to do all that education. I was living in Dubai and he's in New York, so it took a lot longer than normal because we weren't in the same continent. But I had to get to know him. Then I had to figure out, okay, now that I know about him and his company and his business and his team and how he works, now this is where I can add value. So that runway is a long-term play. A long time, I flew, I bought tickets, I spent time in hotels, I went and spent time with him just because I knew there was value in building a relationship for, someone who's, very good at what he does in digital marketing and social media, which I wanted to learn more about. And I knew the Middle East, and I thought, like I built Weber Shandwick's PR firm in the Middle East, I can help him build VaynerMedia in the Middle East. So I need to get to know, how does digital work? How does social work? What is his value proposition that would be valuable for clients here? So I can see if there's a match and if there's a fit. But I've done that with multiple clients. I met Matt Higgins. Matt Higgins is the chairman of RSC Ventures. He runs a venture capital firm and wrote a book called Burn the Boats.
Burn the Boats is one of the best things in the world.
Yeah.
Because there was a famous general at war. Once the ships got to shore, he burned all the ships and he told his soldiers, we can't go back, go fight.
Yeah.
And they fought and won. They were outnumbered by the other army, like way outnumbered them. But then they ended up winning because they had no option of retreating.
Yeah, because when you always have plan B, you never focus on going all in on plan A. That's the premise of his book. And Matt's a affluent business person and works all around the world, had never been to the Middle East in Dubai. So I said, next time you want to go, I'll take you. I'll organize one of these visits.
Again, having a contact in the Middle East is important.
And I would charge a client to do that. How I created value for him, just taking a lesson from the book, is I decided to do it for him without charging him. I would go and I wouldn't charge him for my time. And I would organize this visit for him because I would get time to spend time with him, 4 or 5 days uninterrupted access for me to learn from him. I had a business idea I wanted to discuss with him, but I also wanted to create value for him, but I had to be able to deliver and give him the results. I was a long-term player. I was like building a relationship and not asking for anything, but giving first and delivering first. I wanted to show him rule number 5, which is your reputation as a currency, what my reputation was like in the Middle East, access to the people I know, the heavy hitters I can get him in front of ministers or CEOs or get him into press. So I practiced about 4 rules of that book on that visit with Matt. And then he had a great visit. I introduced him to a lot of people. It was a very successful press, dinners, everything. He got educated in the market. He ended up buying a home, ended up doing a lot of things after that visit. And now I sit on the advisory board of 2 of his companies, and he became a client. But I didn't ask for any of those things. Like, I delivered first. I was a long-term player. I created value for him. I wasn't a waiter. I wasn't going to wait for him to ask me to do all these things. I created and crafted a strategy for him and an agenda. That's how you put those rules to work. And there's a lot of examples in the book and actually some crazy stories of things that I've done in my life that I think would be fun for people to read.
I'd want to hear at least one of those crazy stories, but you just basically described this guy.
What?
You're exactly the
create the
value. Yeah, you're again. I can see why when you're creating a lot of value for a client or for someone, you become such a great asset that they want to do business with you.
Yeah, exactly. You are so good at creating value for people.
And if you go somewhere else to their competition, they're dying to have you come back and work with them.
Yeah, and I'm always trying to up the game for myself. Like, I want to create value and I want to deliver results, but I'm always trying to be more strategic. What's a connection? What's an idea? What's a strategic opportunity that I can bring them that nobody else can? And I want to find my lane so I know, because when I create value for somebody, I ultimately create value for myself because I get the experience, I get the accolades, I get the confidence, I get the network, I get the relationships. There's so much I win from doing it. And so that's why I really want people to read the book and learn about the principle of creating value for other people, because it works.
Well, too many people today look at it for what's in it for me.
Yeah, we live in a transaction-based society. Like, I will introduce you if you do this for me. I don't do that.
They don't even do that. Give me this first before I give you that.
Yeah,
It's not even give me. It's just
give me.
Just give me and
yeah.
Not even a mention of, I'm going to help you with something.
No. And I have built my career and my name based on doing the long-term way. And sometimes, like, even my sister,
I love how she points at me when she says the long-term way.
No, I was just thinking that way. Long-term way. No, but even a couple of times my sister's like, I can't believe you're going out of your way to do all this and you're spending all this time and you're working for free and you're going on trips and you're investing. I'm like, I am investing in something that I really believe in. And I don't do it for everybody. I'm not being taken advantage of. I'm not just like giving away my ideas and services for free. But I know which relationships matter to me that require more investment than
strategic.
other. Yeah, and I think about it. I think about what's the long-term play. And we live in a transaction society where we want to tap to pay and download the whole season now. Like we want everything now, right? And when we can't get the internet to load or we can't get something immediately, we get frustrated. So I'm like, play the long game. Don't be that person who asks for stuff. What about delivering first? What about adding value? What about not being a one-hit wonder and delivering several times and then asking?
I have a saying that I have two sayings actually. One is talk to people that pay you. And then the second one is everyone deserves 1 hour free of your time.
100%. If you don't make time for people, like they're not going to make time for you. Like if you don't pick up the phone when they call you, why would they answer your calls?
Yeah. And also,
I have
nobody cares
time.
about your feelings, so don't try to. No, nobody does care about your feelings. I mean,
I care about your feelings.
Yeah,
Brian
I appreciate
cares.
that. But I'm just saying, in general, if you go through life knowing that no one really cares, just keep moving, and then you don't get any.
Keep moving.
Yeah, just keep moving. Just nobody cares. Keep moving. No one's gonna feel sorry for you. So.
Yeah, and everyone has their own problems and their own issues and their own things that they're wrapped in. I think sometimes the biggest, nobody judges you as much as you judge yourself.
Well, because everyone's the star of their own movie.
Yeah,
and nobody cares about you. They care about themselves because they're the star of their own show. And so you just can't worry about what other people think about you and just keep it moving. You said,
Stay
keep
low,
it moving.
Keep moving.
Can't stop.
Yeah. So you were going to share one crazy story. You said you have several in your book.
There's so many. So just a couple of headlines. So when I moved to Egypt, I got asked, I think this is the opening story of the book. There's an American Chamber of Commerce, and they have delegations, and they come and they take a bunch of CEOs from Egypt, and they take them to the U.S. to go to Congress to do this. It's called the door knock. Like you're knocking on the door of congressmen and people telling them about why they should do business in Egypt, and you go to the White House and you meet people just talking about why people should invest in Egypt. And so before you go on these trips, they have you meet with ministers and prime minister and different government officials so they can tell you what the economic agenda is for the country, so you can go represent them as ambassadors, as the business community, to help generate income and wealth and ideas for investing in Egypt. Business, private partnership. Anyways, very long story short, I go to this meeting with the prime minister with all this delegation. And the prime minister's office said to me, everyone can leave except for you. And they point at me. And I'm like, what did I do? Like, why did I get called out? Like, everyone's like, you're in trouble. Like, what did you do? And when I just moved to Egypt, I don't even know anything in Arabic. I don't even know why I'm in the prime minister's office. It's very ornate and very presidential seal looking, all this kind of stuff. Very long story short, I say afterwards, and they're like, we'd like you to write speeches for the prime minister of Egypt.
In English?
Yeah, that was going to be my question.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And I was like, well, I'm not a speechwriter. I'm not a policy person. Like, that's not what I do. Like, I do communications. I think because they thought, well, she speaks English.
Have her do it.
She'll be fine.
She'll write a speech. And I'm
Yeah.
like, isn't there like a foreign ministry, or isn't there like more qualified foreign policy diplomats that do this kind of thing for like the prime minister? And like, well, the prime minister's first time to go to the U.S. Usually the president goes, but this time we're going to send the prime minister. And so I said, okay, fine, whatever. I was just like sweating. I was so nervous. I was like, okay, what do you need me to do? They're like, come with us. So I take me into this big conference room, and there's all these files and papers and binders. And they're like, oh, I'm like, okay, great. I'm just like gonna
Take it all with me.
I'll take it home, and I'm gonna go, pick my nerves off the floor
right now.
off the floor and do it at home, because I have no idea what I'm doing. And they're like, no, these are classified. These can't leave the room, and you need to stay here, and you need to do this, and you need this in this room. I'm like, what? I'm like, I have a full-time job. Like, I don't work for the government. Like, and so they're basically said, no, you can't leave this room, and you need to stay here and work on this. I'm like, for how long? And they're like, well, until you finish it, whatever it takes.
And you can't say no.
You can't say no.
Well, you could try.
No, you can't.
Let me know how
you
it
don't
goes.
want to say
I
no.
said, well, let me read. I went back several days because I had no idea what I was going to do. And then the one thing came to me, and I said, what would I want to hear if I was in the audience? And once I got out of my own head and I thought, what would I want to hear if I was in the audience? The speech just flowed, and I wrote it. But the lesson for everyone listening is sometimes we're in our own way. Our head is in our own way because we're thinking too much about, what if I screw up? Are they going to kick me out of the country? What are all the things? Instead of focusing on like, okay, let's think of the outcome and how can I calibrate to deliver something that the audience would enjoy listening to if I was sitting in the audience, and got out of my own way. And then I wrote the speech and they loved it and he delivered it and it went great. And anyways, I became the international communications advisor and speechwriter officially for the Prime Minister of Egypt. And I'm like, I guess I'm a speechwriter now, but it's like, you never know what you're capable of.
Well, you tap into a lot of empathy. You have
Until-
to have very high empathy to be able to put yourself in the position or the shoes of all these people to see what they want.
Yeah, and I think for anyone listening to this, like, you don't know what you're capable of because I'd never been asked before, and I didn't know I had that skill or that I was capable of doing it. And I feel like there's a lot of times in our lives where we think we're not capable of doing something, but you know what? We just never been asked.
As we wrap, Maha,
Yes.
where can people find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn and on Instagram, and I would love it if you went to Amazon and bought a copy of the book and learn about the 7 rules.
Name of the book?
7 Rules of Self-Reliance.
I'll link it below for everybody.
Thank you. Thank
Appreciate
you for
having
having
you
me.
on.
Thank you.
you.